All right, back for another beer review, and today I'll be reviewing another beer from the Allagash Brewing Company, and they're out of Portland, Maine, and this is their Tripel. So they're calling this one a Belgian-style ale that comes in at 9% alcohol by volume, 18 IBUs at the time of review. This bottle is just over 3 months old. Now, if you've been following the channel for a hot minute, then you will know that I am not a huge fan of the lighter colored Belgian beers. So Belgian pale ales, Belgian strong pale ales, Belgian tripels. Not my favorite. Lone exception, Belgian Vit beers. I really do enjoy them. Now, when it comes to tripels, there are only a couple that I really enjoy, and this is one of them. Now, I haven't had this one in probably 5 or 6 years, but I've had it a couple times, and I really do dig it, especially from an American brewery. Now, they do have a spiel here on the side that says, our Belgian-style Tripel, a bright effervescent ale, is brewed to enliven any celebration with its notes of passion fruit and honey. So I don't think I've ever gotten passion fruit out of this one, but I do remember like a honey biscuity type of thing from the malt in this one. But yeah, this is relatively fresh, and I wanted to give it a go. I reviewed their Curio, which is basically, I think, more or less this beer, like aged in bourbon barrels for like, I think it's 2 or 3 months. And I've always enjoyed it. So anyway, let's get it into the hashtag proper glassware. Not really, but kind of. And see what we think about this one. So, yeah, not much more to say. I was like, is there something else I should say? Yeah, very carbonated, but, you know, typical for the style. So we'll throw this over here. Yeah, this has the etching in the bottom that kind of promotes the carbonation. The beauty is, like, there's a little tornado happening in there. It's probably not going to come off on camera as well as it is in the glass, but there's a very fine sediment. Particulates are very small in here, and they're just, it's almost like a snow globe because it's like moving around because the carbonation is crazy. It has about a finger of this is like the brightest and whitest head you could possibly get. It has a nice creamy kind of look to it. Hold it up to the light, yeah, fine particulates. I mean, it's not crystal clear, but there is a nice clarity to it, but it's definitely because of that sediment, a little bit hazy, but yeah, that looks crazy. Again, I don't know if it's gonna come off on camera. My camera's not the best. I just use my phone, so a lot of times it doesn't, but it just looks crazy in there. It's like a tornado. It's insane. Wow, that smells nice. So they say passion fruit and honey. Definitely get the honey off the rip. There's like a honey malt, a biscuity malt, sweeter, bready kind of malt sensation. Is there a fruitiness? Sure. Would I say passion fruit? Probably not, honestly. There's citrus in here, a little bit of lemon, maybe a smidge of orange. I'm almost getting like a slight barnyardy thing, barnyardy thing. I said a barnyardy thing, and it's kind of like a characteristic of like a slight funkiness, but like hay. There's a very slight bubblegum kind of yeast ester I'm getting. It's mixing in with the phenolic clove from the yeast itself. It has a spiciness to it, clove, coriander, something in that realm. But yeah, it is fruity. So I wouldn't necessarily say passion fruit myself, but I could see some kind of like tropical stone fruit, maybe like a peach or like an apricot or something. It does smell good, though. I'll be honest with you. It smells good. Like, again, Tripels are not my favorite, but I've always enjoyed this one. I feel like a lot of times with Tripels, for me, the reason why a lot of the lighter colored Tripels and Belgian beers in general kind of miss the mark for me is a lot of times the carbonation is a bit too much and a lot of that funkiness. Even Saisons. Like, I don't love Saisons. There are some great Saisons, but it's just not a style I love. So it definitely has to resonate with me to some degree with other characteristics, but I feel like carbonation a lot of times too much. You get a little bit of like barnyard funk, a little bit of horse blanket, things of that nature, and that's just not my favorite. But this honestly smells pretty fucking good. Let's get into it. Cheers, everybody. What I really like about this is 9%. And I think you can tell there's a little bit of like a zip, a zesty kind of sharpness. But it's not astringent and it's not too much and it doesn't like distract from the palate, but you know this is like a bigger beer. When I say 9%, I'd probably say like 8.5%, 9%. Yes, if I was doing this wine. Mine, this is higher side of medium, lower side of full, 9%, perfect. It's a little bit, I think it's more like higher side of medium. And I think it is a bit thinner than a 9% beer, but I think for the style it's appropriate because you want something a little bit thinner with this style, I feel. The mouthfeel, though, they say effervescent. Yes, it's super crisp. It's like high carbonation. It's dancing on the tongue. Again, I don't know if it's come off on camera, but it's It's flowing. It's flowing. Very spritzy on the tongue. And it kind of does a good job of like wiping the flavors off your tongue after a good 2 or 3 seconds. So you keep on wanting to go back for more. Not because it's like overly dry, like a lot of dry beers, you're like, I want to go back to kind of replenish my palate because it kind of dries it out. While this does have some dry qualities to it, I think like the carbonation just wipes the palate clean. And sometimes it's a good thing, sometimes it's a bad thing. Here I think it's like a really good thing. So body's appropriate, mouth feels nice, the flavor. The nose really did carry over. A lot of citrus at the forefront. First thing I'm getting is hit with like an orange kind of honey, like an orange blossom honey. And I think it's partly the malt, but partly the yeast, maybe a little bit of the hops. But it's orange blossom honey is what I'm pretty much getting at the forefront. It dives underneath the palate, so you get this like honey, biscuity, kind of like slight citrusy tinge that's omnipresent and with you throughout. But after that, I'm getting a nice apricot, slight apricot jam, but like almost like an underripened apricot too. Middle of the palate, there's a tropical fruit. Would I say passion fruit? I don't think I would. Maybe like a kiwi or like a slight melon tinge, something like that I would say. But if you said passion fruit, like I wouldn't be like, oh, you're wrong. You taste what you taste. And they say passion fruit, so I'm sure some folks get it. But it definitely has like a tropical fruit kind of feel halfway through the palate. I'm also getting a touch of that barnyard funk, but it's not like a horse blanket. It's more like just like a generic like hay kind of grain feeling. Like a weedy kind of sensation. There's a slight bubblegum yeast ester. It's not as big as it was in the nose, but it's prominent. It's not prominent. I should say it's not prominent. It's subtle. It's nuanced, but it's there. And then it finishes with this clovey coriander kind of dryness. And this is definitely, I would say, full on dry. There's a mild bitterness here, but this is more dry than bitter. It's actually way more dry than bitter. But it does a great job of breaking up the sweetness, like that orange blossom honey sweetness that you kind of get at the front, or I get anyway. It definitely stops it in its track from being way too sweet. Because some of these Tripels can be a little bit sweet. But this is always one that I found had a really good balance. Like I said, 9%, I can tell, but I think it's appropriate from what I'm drinking here. I don't want it to like hide it. I'm gonna pour the goodies in here because at this point, it's probably gonna, haze it up a little bit. Uh-oh. I don't think that was necessary. I don't think it was gonna go over, but let's make sure it doesn't. So as you can see, the carbonation is just crazy. Definitely hazed it up quite a bit. Still, I can see my hand through it, but there's so many fine particulates in there. It's insane. This is just listen, you're never gonna hear me say like that Tripel is like my favorite beer or it's just mind-blowing to me. The best Tripel I ever had, and this is the truth. I've had a lot of authentic Belgian Tripels, and some of them are really good. But I think this is my favorite. I really do. That said, I can't go crazy high on this one just because of the style. But like stylistically of what I've had, I'm not saying this is better than a lot of authentic Belgian Tripels, but for my palate, it's up there. I think stylistically, this is like a 4.5, 4.6 out of 5. Like this is fantastic. Personal preference, I'm still going to go pretty high. I'm just not going to go crazy high. So Tripel from Allagash, I have no issues giving this a low 4.25 out of 5. Well, 4.15 out of 5. I think for me, that's probably one of the highest ratings you're going to get from a Belgian-style Tripel or just a Belgian Tripel, period. I will try to review more of these this year, maybe a couple more. Again, listen, when you review beer, a lot of these beers I buy myself. A lot of folks send me beer, Hop Butcher sends me beer and whatnot, but like a lot of them, like for the shelfy beer reviews like this is, and just other stuff I buy locally, I buy stuff I enjoy, right? So I'm reviewing stuff I enjoy. So I don't like necessarily I'm not going to buy a lot of Tripels, but Veshmal, their Tripel, probably one of my favorite too. So be curious to see how I enjoy that in comparison to this. So I will pick that one up at some point. Anyway, price point availability. This was $14.99 a 6-pack. I think I paid like $2 something for that bottle. For 9% Belgian-style Tripel that's this quality, $15 a 6-pack. Fucking yes. And please. Availability, Allagash, wherever you see their beers. This is like one of their staples. Their Allagash White, which is their Belgian-style Vit beer, is their flagship beer, is the beer they're known for. But this is like second or third in the running for their brewery. Like you can find this everywhere. And it might not be the easiest beer to find fresh, but I bought this one. This was like maybe like just under 2 months old. And that's crazy to be able to find it just under 2 months old at this point, because a lot of their stuff will sit. I'm glad I was able to drink this relatively fresh. So if you've had this one before, post in the comment section. Again, this is somebody who doesn't love this style, so to give it a 4.15 out of 5 and sing its praises is like, I'm telling you, if you have never had this before and you like the style, try it out, especially if you can get your hands on Allagash. It's worth it. So huge thanks to everybody for checking out another beer review here on the Beer Patrol. To the next one. Cheers.